All right. And in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast. I know we've been gone a couple weeks. You guys haven't seen us in a while, but we're back. We had a little bit of technical issues, technical and scheduling issues these last few weeks. But we're getting it sorted out. We're back. We're better. And of course, we're here to talk about some games. Of course, I'm your host, Denzel, aka Black Ice, joined by my co-host. Got my guy in the middle here, Mr. Goopmaster Flex. How you doing today?
You already know we've been on this hot summer day.
Very, very hot summer days.
Hot summer day.
Very hot summer days. Very thankful for my air conditioning today. But yeah, of course, we also got my guy, Mr. 525 himself, May 25th. How you doing?
I'm good. Tired as always, y'all. But like I always say, never too tired to talk about some games. We're here, and it's been a while, so it's cool.
Yeah,
it feels like we're back in the building. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, we're back. It's not going to be a long one today. I know we always say that, but we're sticking to that this time because there really isn't that much to talk about. Summer's kind of sparse on gaming news. At least this part in the summer is sparse on gaming news. But yeah, we do have some interesting stuff coming out from Microsoft and the FTC and a random announcement from EA. But, before we get into all that stuff, Chris, we got to let you do your thing. Take it away.
All right, so today's buffer is, obviously you guys know we're kind of going to be having most of our discussion about this Microsoft acquisition news type stuff. And I just want to know from each of us, what's the game that is underneath that umbrella that we're most looking forward to getting revived or whatever once Microsoft has their hands on things. Because there's so many things to choose from. There's been a lot of dormant titles that they haven't really done anything with in a long time. So for me, my answer, I'm going to be honest, it's not necessarily a dormant title, but this is just a game that they have to put it on Game Pass, man. They have to, dude. Put fucking World of Warcraft on Game Pass. Do it. Fucking do it, man. Listen. I'm not saying it needs Game Pass. It's a very, very strong game. I don't even know when this is ever going to start losing steam. The game's been around for what, 2-3 decades now? It's been a minute, right? It's been a minute. But just if the ports will allow it and it can go through smoothly with no issues, bring on the consoles, man. Like, let's do it. Bro, you know how invested I could be in this game if it was actually on console, because I don't PC game like you guys. I'm not Master Race. I'm
It's all right.
Poverty. Yes.
I mean, also, it's World of Warcraft. You could run that on your laptop. It's not like...
Bro, I don't want to do that. I want the experience. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to chill. Yes, I want to control. I know I can plug it in. I understand that. I don't want to do that. I want to just turn my Xbox on, boop, boop, and do my thing like I always do. I don't want to have to do no attachments. I don't want to have to add HDMI from my monitor to my laptop. I don't want to do that. Okay, I don't want to do it. Just give me my shit straight up. Put it in Game Pass. Stop playing with me. I think, I speak for myself, obviously, but a lot of people would love that, man. Like a lot, like we can't deny that. Like that shit it would be a hitter.
Yeah,
just because
I think people have been talking about porting World of Warcraft to Xbox for quite some time. Yes, I do think even if you don't put it in Game Pass, but it's obvious that you likely would. I think so the first thing to that is, yes, you want to put it in Game Pass, likely PC Game Pass first. That would be huge. So the PC audience can get their thing just by paying for Game Pass instead of having to pay for access to World of Warcraft separately. But whatever, that's one thing. The next thing is, if you actually are able to make that port, people would go crazy. Like that would definitely bang. And then you have the combination of putting it in Game Pass and having the Xbox port. Yeah,
man,
that's big deal.
Big. Like that's not as big as maybe Call of Duty as some people are looking at it, but that's up there, man. That's big. That's big. Yeah, that's my answer.
I think having the potential of having that on Xbox is very big. Because Xbox already has Call of Duty. It's more just a matter of is Call of Duty going to be in Game Pass or not. They don't. Xbox doesn't have World of Warcraft. That's bigger than getting Call of Duty in my eyes.
In a way, definitely, yeah.
I was gonna say I've been like for some reason just in a MMO mood. Like I want to play an MMO, but I don't feel like playing it alone. But if they looking at it, what? That's how I was looking at it like. I've been what?
I don't know if you built for that MMO like Benny.
I don't
know. Away from Destiny. I don't know.
You don't be min-maxing, my guy. Bro. You don't be min-maxing, my guy.
Well, Manny's min-maxing, or he min-maxed on Diablo. He actually was out there with me.
Okay, all right, word.
First of all, Destiny's a whole different game.
That's right.
I don't know. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
But the thing that's just whatever. It's fine if it wasn't your cup of tea. I'm not debating that whatsoever. But the things that you complained about was the loot grind, and that is a very like MMORPG thing. Especially the ones the legacy ones that are just out there, like World of Warcraft and so on and so forth. Like, there's a lot going on there. So to jump into a game like that right now would probably be kind of overwhelming. And
I've been seeing like Elder Scrolls, like that game, you see a lot of shit when it comes to like, since we're all Xbox boys. But I know, like at the same time, it's probably like, I dive in, I'm going to be overwhelmed and probably going to drop it in like a week. So I don't know.
I mean, you may not. I'm not saying that's necessarily what would happen. I'm just saying relative to the game like Destiny, where it's like you could have banged out like whatever gap there was with Destiny because you're good enough of a shooter, like to have gotten through that if you had powered through. Like if you just put your head down. I don't know about some of these other games. Like the shooting mechanic would be one of those things that would keep you in that world, and a lot of those other games don't have that. But who knows? If you do want to try ESO though, I would not mind trying it with you because we're in this lull right now.
It's pretty good, man.
Nothing to fucking play, so we've been playing Overwatch every night.
So
it's definitely not a bad game. Definitely not. If you like, all the other shit that they put out, it's not really too far off.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. All right. Well, Manny, what's your answer on this one, man? Activision game you want, or Blizzard? Activision Blizzard game you want?
Don't say Candy Crush.
We definitely need some Candy Crush. Oh my goodness! Imagine if this is on the Game Pass market. Perfect. No, I was gonna say, imagine if instead of old game coming to Game Pass, Xbox takes the whole true crime and makes it their own, you know what I mean? And we've seen like our last true crime games, Sleeping Dogs, we call it Sleeping Dogs. That game was amazing. Everybody wants more, but sadly we haven't seen more. I don't know if they're Activision per se, but like I know Activision did the older true crime games.
Yeah.
So I want to see Microsoft maybe take the IP, kind of like make it like their own Grand Theft Auto-esque first party game. I think they can. They have the budget for it, of course. Now, if they have the patience or whatever, is a whole different story because, we could get another Redfall situation or we can actually get a really good AAA title game. So I would actually like to see that.
Yeah, I don't know who makes that game nowadays. I don't know who you put to make that game, but man, I would be fucking happy about that shit. I loved True Crime. Loved it. The one in LA and then the one in New York, like those are fantastic games. Well, fantastic to me. I'm sure they obviously didn't have the commercial success. But
probably dated nowadays. You probably
they definitely dated. They're absolutely dated. There's no question about it. But they had a lot of really dope ass mechanics, man. I remember like they had this thing about like how you could shoot certain parts of a car while you're driving. Like it was very, I forgot like what they called the mechanic, but it was basically like you could either shoot at the tire, you could shoot at the gas tank, you could shoot at this, shoot at that. Like you could aim very well while you're driving and trying to shoot another car. It was just really, really cool. And and then it had the martial arts component to it too. It wasn't just the shooting stuff. Like, yeah, that was a dope game. I would love for them to bring that back. That'd be dope.
So Sleeping Dog to Square Enix.
Oh, okay, but it almost felt like a spiritual successor to True Crime though. So
yeah, definitely. It was like one of those games everybody loved. And it was like, why didn't Square Enix take another one? But
yeah,
you know, who knows what they own it nowadays? They sell off everything. So
I wouldn't be surprised if that's owned by Embracer Group now. That's
yeah.
gone to the wayside. But yeah, for me, I've said this a couple different times. I think we've been talking about it recently in the party, but the only game that I want to come out of this whole thing, this whole purchase of Activision Blizzard, is Guitar Hero. I want it back. I used to love playing Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and I still got the guitars for Rock Band, and like I think I just re-downloaded on my Series S. I love playing those games. If Microsoft and the team over there at like one of the teams within Activision could find a way to revitalize that franchise and like bring in all the more modern music and really flush it out and find a way to I guess make like differentiate it from what it used to be, like bring it to 2023 or 2024 whenever it comes out. I think that'd be great. Find a way to add new instruments if possible. And obviously Microsoft has the infrastructure to build out new guitars and stuff like that. And like, I just think that would be great, man. I love that stuff. And, the party game genre has kind of died off a little bit. Obviously, likely because of COVID and how people weren't really gathering as much. But now we're well on the tail end of that now.
Whatever happened to that other game that was supposed to come out, that Rocksmith game? Remember that? Or
It's
Rock?
out. I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's out. But it's just not. It's not.
I've
like
never heard anything
Hero.
about it after. No, I know it's more of like a tutorial type of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Like I still want to get my hands on that. I just got to get a more up to date guitar. But yeah, no Guitar Hero though. Hopefully that comes to fruition because Bobby Kotick kind of said that much. He said that's one of the things that he'd hope Microsoft would jump back on because they have the infrastructure. Microsoft as a company builds accessories pretty well. And a lot of the reason why Activision strayed away from that was because it was such a high cost for them to deal with that type of stuff because they didn't have the infrastructure to be building out, hardware like that. Because they were dealing with hardware on multiple fronts, right? They were building the guitars and obviously, ultimately the drums, microphones, but then they also had the Skylander stuff, and that was popping off, but it was probably costing them a little bit more money than they're used to have to actually make the hardware on the Skylander. So, see an opportunity for Microsoft at the least. But yeah, let's dive into our couple little topics here. We'll talk a little bit more about the Activision stuff in a little bit. We're gonna keep everything pretty short and sweet. But first thing we want to get into, of course, Chris, thank you for that buffer, by the way. But the first thing we want to get into is EA just kind of really randomly. This is a very random story, and there's not that much to talk about. But I did want to kind of mention it because I'm pretty excited about this. But we know EA is getting their hands on the Iron Man game that's being made by Motive, the same people who made the Dead Space game earlier this year. But now, apparently, EA is booting up a brand new studio called Cliffhanger Games to release a Black Panther game. And it's going to be a third-person action-adventure game in the same style as, supposedly Spider-Man. And same thing that they're kind of saying is going to be what's happening with Iron Man as well. It's third-person action-adventure game. Big thumbs up. This is going to be dope. I think the studio is being led by one of the guys from Monolith, the guys who made the Lord of the Rings, like the Middle Earth game, Shadow of Mordor. That's it. So, I actually like the combat in that game and the way it was structured. So I think that's one of the types of minds that you want behind a game like this. The main thing that everybody has been talking about around this, and I find it to be interesting, and we can obviously dive into it, but a lot of people are like, oh, why would anybody want to touch like superhero games at this point in time? If you look at, what's happening with Rocksteady in that game, what's it called? Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game. Like that hasn't been well received. The Avengers game shut down. And then there was another game that everybody was referencing. And I was like, did anybody realize like the common denominator between all of those games is that they all tried to be looter shooters and like live service games? And then in contrast, if you look at what's going on with Spider-Man, people fucking love that. And it's like you focused on making it third-person action adventure. focus on, what makes the character really cool, and people will show up in droves, like I always talk about Manny and how much he loved the Guardians of the Galaxy game. A lot of people were really receptive to that game, and it wasn't a live service game. It focused very much on action adventure. It was very concise, did exactly what it needed to do, and it was successful. And I feel like that seems to be the formula that EA wants to emulate with these other two games, this Iron Man game and then now this Black Panther game. So I'm really excited to see what they have to show from it. But, I'll get you guys' take on it here. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do you think about this announcement?
No, I think it's dope, man. The one thing that makes me excited about this game, and I hope they get it right, is I'm happy that it's going to be an action adventure game, but I really, really hope that they flesh out certain aspects of it. Like I hope they make Wakanda feel alive. I hope there's a lot of lore. Like I actually think I care about lore in this game more so than all the other superhero games. There's not really much lore for me to care about in like a Spider-Man or like Wolverine. There is a good amount of lore. I ain't gonna hold you. A lot of his past shit is really cool and interesting to learn about, but there's so much stuff that you can go into with Black Panther, man, and T'Challa and all kind of other stuff if you want to go into it. And obviously you look at a city like Wakanda and there's a lot of secrets everywhere. You could tell, like, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about in terms of their history, and you just got a golden opportunity here to really, really tell a good story if they want to. And, EA, people have what they think about them, but I do believe that they put good games out whenever they put their minds to it. So I feel good about this one. I think it's going to be a good game. Obviously we can't really say until we get like at least some kind of footage or at least like something to go off of. Right now it's just kind of like a speculation type of thing, but still. I hope we get like even more superheroes too in the future, because it kind of feels like Spider-Man kind of cracked the door open and say like, okay, these games can make you a lot of money if you truly market them and make them in the correct way. If you make them like how they used to do in the past, where I used to hate how the Spider-Man games used to be made, or how some of the Transformers games or any of the blockbuster movie film to video game adaptations go, 9 times out of 10, it's like, we just put this out there because we know that some kid in the store is going to bother their mom to buy it, and they're going to buy it. But it's not a good game at all, Now they're making good games, So it's like, okay, cool. Can we get a Deadpool game at some point? Can we get another X-Men game at some point? There's so many other like things that they can do based upon these games doing well. So I'm here for it, man. Yeah, very, very much here for it. I'm looking forward to exploring Wakanda.
I was gonna say, you brought up a good point though. Like, are they gonna be in Wakanda? Like, I'm curious how that's gonna go, because I guess technically, I don't know. I don't know what angle they're gonna take here, but
yeah.
Like the idea of him like fighting a battle and like doing all these different things around Wakanda, like facing all of his enemies. I don't know. I really did not think about that for some reason up until this moment, and now I'm really curious where they're gonna go with this, because I don't know. I just thought about him more like traveling the globe and being Black Panther, not like being in Wakanda. Like that's
my brain went there first. Like everything's in Africa for the whole game. Like I think that's so dope to do.
Yeah, no, that's
like extremely
dope to do. I just was not thinking about that at all. Damn. Yeah, I'm gonna have to ponder on that a little bit. But Manny, what's your take on it all, man? I want to hear you.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, said it, so I'm gonna just echo it. Of course, as long as we don't get no Avengers or they focus heavily on microtransaction crabs, like, for skins and stuff like that. Like, I want it to be like how Spider-Man was. Everything's unlocked in game, and no battle pass crap, because it's not even a multiplayer game. It doesn't need it. Like Suicide Squad, I don't know what's going on with it, but I think this definitely does have a lot of potential. We know the market. Everybody loves Black Panther. I mean, like the last 2 movies that came out was really successful. So I feel like, they got the alley-oop here. Now it depends if they catch it and, slam dunk it, or if EA does the classic EA and kind of just shoot themselves in the leg and kind of makes this.
EA ain't doing that. That narrative don't work. That classic EA, that don't work, bro. They just shot one of the best games of the year. I don't want to hear that classic EA bullshit no more. Sorry, go ahead.
That's just from one studio, though. You know what I mean? But, like they have been trending upward, in the last couple years, especially since they shot themselves from Star Wars Battlefront 2. So, like I said, I would like to see this game, strive. We all love Black Panther, of course. And I do like the idea of either traveling the world or kind of just like, being in Wakanda. Who knows? The feather got a serpent, Khan could come back and attack in the video game. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm very excited, and they made the lead developer or the head, made Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War. Those games were received well, so I can't wait to kind of see how that translates to this.
Yeah, and then I think isn't there still that other like Captain America, Black Panther like game coming from some completely different studio? Like it's like some sort of a, oh my god, I feel like they dropped like a random trailer either at the Game Awards or one of Jeff Keighley's things. I can't remember it, but like I think it was like,
are you sure that wasn't a part of the Avengers game, like when they had
no,
the Black Panther DLC? Okay,
yes, it's not. I think Skydance Games is the studio that's making it, and it's like I remember it being distinctly like a Captain America.
Oh,
like,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was like the retro, right? Like it was like back in the 90s or whatever.
Yeah, like World War II era type of thing going on.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I remember. Well,
yeah. So like we still didn't even see that. So, it's interesting that like Marvel Games is kind of building these different stories that are happening amongst, multiple studios. It's not just Insomniac making everything, right? Like, Insomniac seems like they have Spider-Man and Wolverine, and maybe they'll get access to more characters down the road, but it looks like they're also giving Iron Man to different studios, obviously Black Panther to different studios. I wonder if it gets to a point where maybe some of these worlds, these game worlds interact with each other, even though they're being made by different developers entirely. Maybe like a little like cinematic or like I guess game universe instead of a cinematic universe. I'm curious how they visualize that, because we see how well it worked for them in the cinema. So
yeah, I was kind of wishing Insomniac would do that, but like I'm still of course optimistic to see what they do with Iron Man and Black Panther, and they really can't fumble. If they do, excuse me, I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of why maybe they wouldn't want to, like Marvel themselves wouldn't want to only give it to Insomniac, because then that likely means it'll only come to Sony, and I doubt Sony is willing to allow like Insomniac games to be on multiple platforms. So there's some complications there, but alas, it's a different conversation for a different time. But yeah, we'll definitely keep our ear to the ground on that Black Panther game, because I'm very curious about it. And I don't know. I'm also very curious about the way it was announced. Like it was just announced in a press release. There was no like trailer, nothing, not even like a little sizzle reel or anything. It was just like, hey, we're launching a new studio and we're making a Black Panther game, and that's really it. Weird to me, but whatever. It is what it is.
It's probably like very early development where they don't really have anything to show.
I'm sure. But usually most people don't even. It's like, hey, we're making a new studio, and that's it. Like they don't say anything else after that. Like, so you kind of try to keep the mystery, but they were like, nah, fuck it. We'll just put out a press release and say we're doing this thing. It's like they don't have a showcase this summer, so like I guess might as well. But
they didn't for themselves. But
yeah, I mean, we'll take whatever news we can get, because it's been dry. It's been dry. But yeah, bring us to our final story here. So talking about the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard deal. It's been litigated against for the majority of the summer. The UK CMA blocked the deal a couple months ago. The FTC basically went through this whole rigmarole of trying to get the deal blocked. They filed a temporary restraining order on the deal that got passed through, and then they went to court the past couple weeks up in San Francisco. Had a 5-day trial, hoping to get the deal blocked, and it just came out just yesterday that they lost that that lawsuit. Essentially, they lost that deal to the FTC lost the motion to try to block the deal entirely. So at this point in time, Microsoft is free to actually close the deal on Activision, only in the U.S. And the other territories in which it's been already approved. The UK is still kind of in a weird place because right after that decision got announced, the UK and Microsoft announced that they were working out a deal. But now things are getting weird again because it was like, as we were going to start recording this episode, it was looking like, all right, they're going to close the deal. And I still think they're going to close the deal. I think it's very hard to, like, in my opinion, come up with enough evidence for like a judge to really sit there and be like, yeah, this doesn't make a lot of sense. We're going to block this. Like, I think for me, I actually listened to a lot of the trial because I did find a lot of the stuff interesting that they were talking about. There's a lot of like crazy revelations that came out about the gaming industry in general. Like Microsoft was actively trying to buy Bungie. Microsoft had a whole plan to try to buy Sega, Square Enix, like a lot of different studios. So like a lot of really interesting tidbits came out of that. But throughout the whole process, the judge that was actually involved in the case, she really just did not seem to be buying much of what the FTC was trying to sell around the idea that Microsoft was going to make Call of Duty exclusive and like all these random claims that Microsoft has, publicly refuted and actually went out and tried to make deals to prove that, they want Activision games to be on as many platforms, well, specifically Call of Duty, they want it to be on as many platforms as possible because they want to make money at the end of the day. Like it's a pretty selfish reason, but like it's obvious, like they want to make money, and if they feel like they can make more money putting Call of Duty on PlayStation, they're going to do it, as well as on the Switch and so on and so forth. But whatever. As far as all that stuff goes, it clearly led us to where we are today, where Microsoft won their case. But right as we started recording this, as I mentioned, the FTC actually filed an appeal. So there is a potential that another court is going to go through this process again. The deal may get blocked. I'm leaning on the fact that it probably won't. So it changes our conversation a little bit today. I really thought, we'd be talking a little bit more about, what's next for Microsoft. I still feel in my heart that it's going to go through. So I guess not much of this conversation should change. We already talked about in the buffer some of the games and some of the things that we want to see Microsoft do to bring back like dormant franchises. But I wanted to expand that conversation a little bit more because, as I mentioned, Guitar Hero is definitely one of those things that I want. But goddamn, when you look at the portfolio of games and things that Activision has done in the past, like, we mentioned Spider-Man. Activision made a number of those, some of the Spider-Man games, like Shattered Dimensions is probably one of my favorite Spider-Man games because it actually like was one of the few outside of Spider-Man 2 and the more current Spider-Mans, like you could swing properly. I used to fucking hate that about Spider-Man games. Like the fact that he would just be swinging on air would piss me off to no end. But Shattered Dimensions was dope because it gave you a little bit of that Spider-Verse vibe. Like there was different Spider-Man you could play as, and like there were actual reasons for what was going on, hence Shattered Dimensions. Yeah, that game was dope. I would love for them to they don't need to remake that, but if they could just put that like backwards compatible version on Game Pass, that would be dope for me. I'd love that. Also, I'm pretty sure they made that game Prototype. I don't know if y'all remember that game.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love that game. It was like at the time I didn't have a PlayStation, and I really wanted to play Infamous, and it was like the closest thing that I had to Infamous at the time.
Yeah. This
shit bangs. Like I like this. I'd love to see them bring something like that back. But yeah, I mean they got stuff back in the catalog, man. Aside from the stuff we already talked about, any other things y'all remember from from your childhood or whatever that y'all might want to touch on again as far as Activision goes? Man, I'll start with you.
Yeah, like I remember playing the Spider-Man games, and my favorite was definitely Spider-Man 2 because that kind of like, started the whole swinging around with like actually connecting the buildings and stuff like that. I would love to see kind of that come. I feel like it's going to be hard too because obviously with the whole copyright and licensing and all that kind of thing, it's kind of hard to just like bring it back. But
yeah, I don't think they would ever remaster that game because that definitely gets complicated because that's even based off the movie. So
yeah, so like you were definitely not gonna see that. I can't think. You know, I'm looking back. I'm looking at these catalogs. It's like, they make Shrek games. Give me some Shrek games.
we ain't in the Shrek movie, let alone the game.
I mean, from the last Puss in Boots movie, that might be coming soon.
You never know.
But yeah, I did talk about True Crime. I'm looking. They actually did make like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. I didn't know that. I'd like to see that. But like the only thing is like they made Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for the Nintendo Switch only. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I know, but maybe now they might expand that. Maybe they might make it for more people. I would love if they dove back into the Ultimate Alliance game and found a way to. But then when I think more about it, like Ultimate Alliance in a modern day version is exactly what Avengers should have been without all the fucking like looter stuff.
See, that's the thing. That's what I hate about modern day games because they all try to cash in as much as they can on these stupid trends, and it just ends up backfiring. But hopefully, I do like the idea.
Nothing about that game made sense. It was like you're literally trying to make a Destiny clone in an adventure game, like a action adventure game with no shooting. Like, what's the loot? Like, what's the carrot? Like, there's no different guns. Like, you gave them different pieces of armor. We don't want that. We just want the characters that we know and love in the suits that we know and love already. So stupid.
Yeah, I like I said, I feel like it's just too much of just like trying to cash in. Like I don't get it too. Like they could have done the Spider-Man route, made the suits unlockable through the game and all that kind of stuff. But no, they wanted to be like, oh, you want this suit? You just gotta shell out $5, and it's like it's really ruined it, honestly.
Yeah, make it so that we grind for it.
I'm trying to look. See.
Well, I mean, why you look, Chris? I know you might have one on the tip of your tongue.
The one game we have not brought up yet today that I'm like, they got to bring back. Y'all see Gun on that list?
I saw Gun.
That's one of the most, like, nobody talks about that game, dog. But that shit was hard, bruv. It was hard.
I do remember that game.
It was, for me, I remember at the time when it came out, it was like the direct competitor to Red Dead when the first one came out.
Yep.
And although they are very similar, there are things about the games that were like different from one another. Like I think different enough where like if Gun did come back out in today's day and age, I think it can still exist on its own. Like it's not as egregious to me as like say Saints Row to GTA. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like that. It was more like, okay, these games are similar, but I don't think it's a clone of the other one. Whereas you could clearly see Saints Row is just, we're the alternative. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Man, Gun was good, man. Gun had some really cool mechanics when you did the bullet time shit and all that stuff. Like there was some cool shit, man. Yeah, they gotta come back to that. They got that. I think there's a really, really big space for them to come up with like a wild Crash Bandicoot game. Like, and I'm talking like listen, guys, listen. Y'all remember when they finally took Mario and they went from Mario to like Super Mario Odyssey? And that shit was a banger because it was the first time they kind of like stepped into that world with the platformer. Y'all could do the same shit with Crash Bandicoot. One, well, also they need to like take a lot of their older games, I think remaster some of them and put them in Game Pass. I think that's the first thing they got to do. On top of that, come up with a new one, but really give that franchise some new juice. There is no reason why Crash Bandicoot can't be up there with some of the more upper echelon platform titles. Like if you can have a Ratchet and Clank do so well for PlayStation, then I think you can figure out a way to take Crash Bandicoot's world and make it like more of a competitor to that, or
absolutely
Microsoft's version of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I definitely think if they gave it a little bit more, because the crazy thing about it too, even based on what you said, like the last couple Crash Bandicoot games that came out, they have been very like well received, and they came. I think one came out last year or the year before. They've been very well received. I haven't touched them.
Me neither.
Just generally because I guess I don't really dive too much into platformers. Like Ratchet and Clank had enough hype going for it that I played it and I did enjoy it, but I still didn't end up finishing it. But I feel like I heard more people talk at the end of the day about Crash Bandicoot. So I feel like if you give it more time, more money, more energy, whatever, what have you, yeah, I think it could beat out Ratchet and Clank and some of these other games that we talk about. And I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Apparently, according to what they said, the studio that was making those games apparently got shut down or like refocused towards more Call of Duty stuff. I think it was Toys for Bob, whatever. So it's like, come on, like we don't, we don't need more stuff feeding the Call of Duty machine. Give those developers the opportunity to continue to make the other games that people actually were, interested in. And like I get, it was a business, and Call of Duty makes a lot more money than those Crash Bandicoot games were making. So whatever, but I guess also the other side of that coin is you could give Toys for Bob Banjo-Kazooie if you don't even necessarily want to touch Crash Bandicoot right now. If you want to let Crash Bandicoot sit for a little while and you really want them to get a platformer in their hands, a lot of people have been asking for Banjo-Kazooie. That's the other side of this coin too. This is the other side of the equation. Microsoft still got plenty of games in their stable that have gone untouched, or franchises in their stable that have gone untouched for years. They bought Rare. They own all this other stuff from Rare. Like, we got Perfect Dark coming down the road and so on and so forth. But like Conkers, Banjo, like there's a lot of games that have just been kind of sitting there dormant too. That now that they're gaining all these other studios, they might allow them to do a little something. And Microsoft's been touting this whole idea of mobile, right? They really want to bolster their mobile games effort. That's another thing to think about is they have franchises that actually could work pretty well on like a smartphone in essence. And I don't mean those like stupid janky like runner games like Temple Run and all that type of stuff, like actually fully fleshed out games that they could have playing on your phone. Like imagine a version of Crash Bandicoot or Banjo-Kazooie that could actually run fully on your phone, with like a gamepad or something like that. That's a real thing that me as a gamer, I would actually be interested in playing, like my own version of the Switch on my phone. Yeah. So there's just a lot going on there, man. And like for all these hurdles that Microsoft's going through, I really do think once it comes through, like it's actually going to be a very beautiful thing for gaming and in general. I don't care if you play on Xbox. I don't care if you play on PC. I don't care if you play on Switch. I don't care if you play on like what the fuck is that? The Amazon Luna. Like I think no matter where you are as far as the gamer goes, I really think that what Microsoft is doing right now will end up being better for games as a whole. Because I think they're trying to push the envelope in a way. I mean, really, because they have no choice. It's really a survival technique at this point, but they're trying to push the envelope in a way that nobody else is doing. Really, because nobody else has to do it, because they're not in last place. So,
big facts.
I think the way things are shaking out, Microsoft seems to want to get this like fully closed and announced by Monday, because I think on the 18th is like the tentative date that the deal is supposed to like fall through or whatever. But obviously, if it doesn't get closed by then, I think they'll probably renegotiate the deal between Microsoft and Activision. But if this appeal thing doesn't go through and, the Ninth Court just kind of shuts that down entirely, I think there's a good chance that we'll see this like completely closed by Monday. And then we might start, seeing some things trickling on Game Pass. Hopefully we get like a little... The one thing I really would love to see once this gets done, like the very first thing I'd love to see, I remember when they finally closed the deal with Bethesda, they had this whole like sit down with Pete Hines and Todd Howard and whatnot. And they then went to like all the different studios around ZeniMax, like to introduce the studios and kind of show a little bit of stuff that they're working on, but nothing like no crazy big announcements like that. But it was just like kind of a get to know you kind of thing. I would love for them to do something like that for all the Activision Blizzard studios. I mean, there's a lot more there than there was for ZeniMax, but I just think it'd be a dope thing to do. And yeah, well, I think that would be a really cool first step once they get things finalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been too long. We've been waiting almost 2 years, so
yeah, we're creeping up on 2 years.
Close.
Yeah.
Hopefully it all goes well.
Bro, like I remember when the deal came through, I was like, finally, finally we can stop talking about this shit. Like when the judge's decision came through. And then today, as we're getting ready to start talking about this, is like, boom, appeal. I'm like, God damn it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So we'll wait a little bit longer. But yeah, I think that's it for this episode, though, man. I mean, like I said, it's been kind of sparse as far as news goes. So we'll just we'll keep our ear to the ground and see what else comes up. We may have some more interesting abstract conversations to have next week. Maybe not necessarily news, but some opinions that have been floating around. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted and we'll talk to you guys next time. Chris, Manny, you guys got anything else?
I just hope that there's some remasters. Oh, sorry, man. My bad.
No. You go first.
Nah, I just hope we get a lot of remasters once it goes through because there's just so much older shit that I can't expect them to make remakes for everything because that's a lot of energy. But remasters, I'll take them, for some of these older games. At least like make the button schemes and stuff for some of the older ones more up to date. I'm not trying to be pressing square to reload in any game. Please don't do that to me.
What do you mean? Pressing square
that shit is fucking pain. Bro,
that's
when I try to go back, well, you know what I mean.
That's how you reloaded Call of Duty.
Nah, isn't it B in Call of Duty?
No, it's
I don't like none of my buttons. Wait, no, I'm sorry.
It wasn't square.
Not to reload. Not to reload. To shoot.
Squared.
To shoot.
Oh, I was like, hold up.
To shoot. I'm sorry.
Square is the reload button on PlayStation.
When I trying to play, what was it? Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yo, am I tweaking? I'm having like a moment right now. It's crazy to think about how you play and you don't be thinking about what button you press. You just it's all muscle memory.
Mapping, yeah.
Oh, you can't see it. Never mind.
I know what the
you
placement
get used to
is.
that shit. Yeah, it's weird.
B is circle. I know that, but like, isn't that what you press to reload? Or is it X? I'm bugging right now.
It's X, right?
X on the Xbox. Yeah, it's X. My boy,
my boy melted. Yo.
All day long, we play shooters, bro. Fortnite, Siege, Overwatch. I couldn't just have a conversation with you telling you what button it was to reload. That's crazy. Muscle memory is insane. Sorry. Keep it going.
Yeah. I'm just saying, man, just make it so that way your boy can press L2 to aim and R2 to shoot. That's all I ask.
That's how it's going to be when Metal Gear comes out, because that used to be, I believe, square to like aim and shoot. And that was like pressure sensor. So like you like lightly press it to aim and then you hold it to shoot. So
no, that shit got to get the whole fuck up out of here. That shit is painful, bro. No.
Modernize all the games.
Please.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But outside of that, boys, I think that's it. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll check you guys out next time. Peace.
Bye, y'all.